Alright, this is Mr. Gilman. Today we're going to continue to multiply monomials, but they're going to get a little longer today. Alright, so just let's do a little review here real quick. Okay, when you're multiplying monomials, you multiply the numbers first, you multiply the variables second. Okay, and yesterday we learned that when you do multiply variables, if they have the same base, like if you're multiplying a t times a t, you add their exponents. Okay, you add the exponents. So let's just go through a few review problems from yesterday, and we can go from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply numbers first. So I'm going to say 3 times 4 is 12. Variable second. Okay, I see it. I see t to the 5th here and t to the 1st power here. So 5 plus 1 is 6, t to the 6th. Okay, and then that's going to be my answer for that one. Okay, it's a monomial times a monomial. Okay, one term times one term. Looking at this next one here, okay, sometimes there isn't numbers to multiply. See, it says multiply numbers first. Well, really, there is a number here. It's 1. There is a number there. It's 1. 1 times 1 is 1, but we never write a 1 in front of our variables because we already know it's there. So we know a times a to the 3rd. There's a little exponent up there. 1 plus 3 is a to the 4th. Okay, on the b variable, I have b to the 3rd times b to the 4th. Together they make b to the 7th. All right. Now, we did multiply the numbers first, we just didn't write the 1 in front of it because we already knew there was a 1 there. On this last example here, same idea. Okay, just like yesterday, the numbers first. 2 times 4 is 8. Oh, yeah, I see v's here, I see 1v here. Okay, together they make v to the 4th. And then the last one is this w. There's no other w's to multiply it by, so I'm just going to put w on the end there. Okay, and that's what we're doing today. Okay, because it's going to get a little longer. This is a little review for us. All right, it's called multiplying monomials, and we're going to do some more of that here in a second. Okay, now, here's what you need to understand. Okay, what an exponent does is it goes to the part of the monomial that it's touching, right underneath of it. Okay, so here's what you need to understand. 3z squared is different than 3z squared like that. Okay, they're different things. This is saying we just want z squared. This is saying we want this whole thing twice. Okay, so on these problems, what you're going to have to do is show your work. All right, as soon as you see parentheses, you know there's 2 of these things. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to write it out. I'm going to say if this is 3z, all of it, see how it's in parentheses? The square goes to the parentheses. That's the difference, okay, with the parentheses. If it's 3z, the whole thing squared, you're going to write on your paper 3z times 3z, okay? That means there's 2 3z's, all right? So it's a little misleading, okay? A lot of students just like to put 3z squared and be done with it. That's not what we're doing. If there's parentheses around it, you need to write it down twice. Now we know how to do it. 3 times 3 is 9. Z to the 1st times z to the 1st is z squared, okay? So my actual answer was 9z squared, okay? And I'm going to expect you to show that step on your paper, okay? But sometimes it's not always just 2 of them. Sometimes it's 4 of them. See how this 4 out here goes to the parentheses? That means everything in parentheses we want 4 times. So I'm going to write c squared 4 times. Okay, so things just got a little harder now. If I'm multiplying all of these together, I'm adding the exponents on all of them. So I have 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So together they make c to the 8th power. Okay, and this is the step I'm going to expect to see on your paper, right there. Okay, that exponent on the outside of the parentheses tells you how many of them there is. All right, so we're going to get even harder here. Let's do 8 of them this time. Okay, this 8 is going to these parentheses, so whatever's in those parentheses, that is what you have 8 times. Y to the 3rd times y to the 3rd, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I'm going to say it again. This is not just 3 plus 8 right there. Okay, a lot of students like to do that. You did not just do the 3 plus the 8. Okay, this is this whole thing 8 times. So we're going to add them up because they all have the same base. They're all y's. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. So I have y to the 24th. Okay, as my answer. Alright, so do not take the easy way out on these if you're going to get the wrong answers. Okay, this exponent out here goes to these parentheses. It doesn't just go to the c, it doesn't just go to the 2. Okay, it goes to this whole term. So what this means is we're going to have to write this term 3 times. I have negative 2c squared times negative 2c squared times negative 2c squared. Now on these with the numbers, you have to show 2 steps. Okay, we're going to multiply this one times this one first. Okay, let's just start simple. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. C squared times c squared is c to the 4th. Okay, we're doing all the rules we learned yesterday, but we still have this times negative 2c squared. Okay, we still have it times that. So now we're doing the same thing again. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. C to the 4th times c squared is c to the 6th. Okay, so these you got to show some work on these. Okay, you separate it into 3 parts because of that cubed out there, that third power. You multiply the first 2 together, write that answer down, and carry down the back part, and you multiply what's left. Okay, then you got your answer there, 8c to the 6th. Okay, so they can get kind of complicated today. Let's do some more of them. Okay, now here's what I want you to pay close attention to because the book likes to try to trick you, throw you off. All right, so here's the thing. This parenthesis is to the second power. This negative sign doesn't have a second power on it. This 2 just goes only to what's in the parentheses. So pay close attention here, everybody. The negative sign is going to come down because there's only one of him. He doesn't go with the squared. But this part inside the parentheses has to go down twice. So we're going to say negative 4y squared times 4y squared. Okay. The negative can just come down. The negative doesn't have a second power on it. Only the part in parentheses has a second power on it. So now we have negative 4 times 4, negative 16. Y squared times y squared is y to the 4th. And there's our final answer. Okay. One more time. The reason we didn't put negative twice is because this exponent only goes to what's in parentheses. Okay, the negative just went straight down. It did not have a second power on it. Let's look at another one here. These can be confusing as well. Okay, even though this is in parentheses, there's no power outside the parentheses, is there? So there's just one of them, and that just means there's one of them. So we're going to write 4y squared. This 2 goes to everything in parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to have to write this one down twice. Times 2y times 2y. Okay, one more time. I know this has parentheses on it, but there's only one of them. Okay, there's no exponent. That means there's only one of them. Okay, so we're going to write it once, write this one twice. 4 times 2 is 8. Y squared times y is y to the 3rd. And I still have my times 2y back here. Okay, I'm going to carry him down. Now I do it one more time. 8 times 2 is 16. Y cubed times y is y to the 4th. Okay? The only really new part that we're doing today is this exponent outside the parentheses. Okay? If there's no exponent outside these parentheses, you can get rid of the parentheses because we know it's just a 1. It's just one of them. If there's a number outside the parentheses, we want to write down that part twice so we can multiply. Alright, now we're going to get into the really complicated stuff here. Okay, one more time. I'm going to show you again. If you don't like parentheses, we don't want parentheses in our problem. To get rid of them, you take however many there is. Well, this is to the first power since there's no number there. Since it's to the first power, I'm going to rewrite it. Negative 3x y squared times. Now, I see 3 outside these parentheses. So everything in just those parentheses, I have to write down 3 times. Times 2x squared times 2x squared times 2x squared. That's what that 3 out there means. Okay, I'm going to have to show some work on this one, a lot of work on this one. Let's do this. Let's say negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. X times x squared is x to the third. And y squared, there's no other y's in the first two, so I'm just going to put y squared. So I'm done with those two. I still have times 2x squared times 2x squared. So let's continue on. I'm going to multiply the first part times the second part now. This guy times this guy. Negative 6 times positive 2 is negative 12. X cubed times x squared. That makes x to the fifth because we're adding the exponents. And once again, we have y squared, but there's no y's over here, so we're just going to write y squared. Okay, so those two we've taken care of. We still have this 2x squared down here, so I'm going to write him down. I'm going to have to show my work somewhere else here. I'm going to write it off to the side. Okay, we're going to go up here now. Okay. Finally, this guy times this guy. Negative 12 times 2. Negative 24. X to the fifth times x squared. We're going to add those exponents. X to the seventh. And finally, y squared. There's no other y, so I'm just going to write y squared. So all that work just for that one itty-bitty little problem. If you try to take the shortcut, it's not going to work out. Okay, it won't get the right answer. So make sure that you understand if the parentheses have nothing outside of them, you just write it once. If they have a 3 outside of them in the exponent, that means that stuff inside these parentheses 3 times. Okay? Let's look at this last one here. Like the big kahuna. Okay? All the stuff we've learned so far. Okay? This negative has no exponent on it. It's just all by itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring down the negative sign. Okay. This 2 goes directly to what's underneath of it. If it's underneath of a parenthesis, that's what I'm writing down twice. So I'm writing this whole thing down twice. 3x, y, z squared. 3x, y, z squared. Okay. So there's that twice. This 2 means we're writing everything in these parentheses twice. So times 2x squared, y squared, times 2x squared, y squared. Alright, so now we got some work to do here. Going to multiply these first two together. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. X times x is x squared. Okay, remember there's 1's above them. Y times y is y squared. You add the exponents. And then z squared times z squared, that makes z to the fourth. Okay, so the first two are done. To save us a step, let's do this. Let's multiply these back ones together and write them down next. Okay, let's say 2 times 2 is 4. X squared times x squared is x to the fourth. And y squared times y squared is y to the fourth. Okay, so now this is still multiplied together, but what we did, we saved a step by multiplying those back ones together first. Okay, and we could have done that over here too, but I was still showing you what was going on. Okay, that'll save us a step because now all we got to do is one more multiplication. Negative 9 times 4 is negative 36. X squared times x to the fourth, if you add the exponents, you get x to the sixth. Y squared and y to the fourth make y to the sixth. I see z to the fourth and there's no more z, so I'm just going to write down z to the fourth. All that is my answer for that huge long problem. Now if you don't show all your work like that, you will not get points. You will not get all your credit. That's what I expect to see. I expect to see you write it out exactly like that and get it done.